Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another chapter of Experiencer Interviews. And today we've got another lovely soul coming to us from across the pond from England, and her name is Paula Elisabeth Green. Paula has been an abductee contactee since the age of 4 up to present. She has seen different species of ETs, the Greys, the Tans, the Nordics, and just recently the Reptilians. Although she has seen very few UFOs, they have had a lasting impact when she saw them. She will never claim to know why they are here, why they want us, and where they are from. But whatever it is, leaves a trauma, PTSD throughout hers and others' lives. She saw no positives at all, but only familiarities. So thank you so much for coming on, Paula.
I am.
So what's your earliest memory of high strangeness?
Yeah. My earliest memory is of a bird, and I was 4-year-old, so that would be 1970. Wait a minute, I was born December 70, so it had been 75, 74, 75, I'm sure. And it was in the summertime, and I did half days at nursery, and I'd come home, I'd have my dinner and go play outside in the back garden. And we used to have outside toilets. So that wasn't there, it didn't exist, but the little outbuilding still existed, and a big slab of stone on top of it, which you call a midden top. And I used to climb, have my dinner, climb up onto this midden top, and I'd have a little stone, or something, playing with little bits of flower leaves or whatever I were doing, and I'd be writing my name, or just looking round, and it was like, I've no reason to look up at kind of behind me at the back of the shops on their roof, and I just went like that. And I remember looking, and this little blackbird sat there. Now it looked small up there because it's on the roof, but it then flew down and sat right next to me. And it was just like I knew it, the familiarity. I've never seen it before. So we're talking, it's probably about that big, and it's got a reddy orange beak. And yeah, like I said, I knew the familiarity of it. I've never seen it before. It's the energy that it gave off. Like, I know this, It was then that it started talking to me. It looked at me for a while, and it started talking to me telepathically. And I'd answer it either verbally, telepathically, or a mixture of both. So it was like the norm just to answer telepathically. It's like being bilingual, but you don't have to answer as in a sentence like we do. So it's a mix, a little mixture of words to make a complete sentence. And it's kind of a compact language. I'd call it a language, And, it'd ask me things like always telepathically, do you like your school? Do you like your family? Do you like your friends? And everything, what have you had for your dinner? Everything was just based on me as a person, but the main thing is, do I like my family? But like I said, I'd answer him either telepathically, verbally, or a mixture of both. So bearing in mind, my mum was in the house and the back door is open. And so now and again, if she's in the kitchen and she can hear me speak, she's going to think, oh, she's speaking to her. Oh, she's talking to her. I'm 4-year-old. There's a little alleyway at the side of me. Someone could have nicked me. Someone could have, tried talking to me. So, she'd come out to the door and say, oh, you're talking to Paula. And I'd say, that bird, and by this time it's flown off. Seen her coming, flown off. And then, day after that, it had come down. It'd go through alt motions again. but
Really?
it'd ask questions, the same questions. I can't remember all of the questions, but I know that it was repetitive questions, but in a different format, as if trying to catch me out at my answers. Now, you know, my mum would be like, I'd see her out at window, you know, and she saw the bird sat next to me, and I'd be answering either telepathically, verbally, or mixture. So the odd word that was verbal, she'd be picking up, which probably wouldn't make any sense because there'd be no connection. And it'd fly off and it'd repeat this process. Now, I don't know whether it went on days, weeks, months, but it went on a long time. It could have missed a few days and then come back. You know, I'm only 4-year-old. I don't know the concept of time at that age, you know, but I remember it being happening over and over and over again. Yeah. And then one day it came and it just sat down next to me for the longest time, just a long time, just looking up at me like this. You know, like if my mum had come at the door, it turned, it said, well, they don't need to do that because their eyes are there and not in front. So the way that it moved its head was very human-like, you know. And so, you know, if my mum went to the door, it'd go like that. And then if she talked to me and I'd answer it, it'd look up at me like that, even though it's just sat next to me. So like I said, it'd come this day and it just sat there, didn't say a thing. It might have only been a few minutes it didn't say a thing for, but to me, it was a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just said, I'm not coming back, telepathically. I'm not coming back. I won't be coming back. And then I burst out crying because I'd saw it as my little friend, you know. When I finished nursery, my friends have gone home, and this is the only thing that I've got to keep me occupied, you know. And it was then that I burst out crying, and it said, I will come back, but not yet, when you're older. But it wasn't in them words, it was the telepathic wording of it, so it's more compact than what I'd say. And off it flew to the top of the roof again. And I just, my mum's heard me crying and come out. And I've looked round and it's not there. And my mum's like, what are you crying for? What's happened? Blah, blah, blah. And I was just so upset. I said, my bird's not coming back. My bird's not coming back. Now, I say it was a bird, and it was my mum when I was older that said, you called it Inca. I don't remember that.
Okay.
So years later, so it's a 4-year-old. So at 41 or 40, I think it might have been 41, yeah, I met Sasha Christie, and we met through a mutual like group thing. Because I was going through all these experiences, I needed somebody to talk to. So this is where Sasha comes into it. So Sasha Christie came to my house, and my mum come over to meet Sasha. It wasn't the first time she's met her, but, you know, just to say hello. It was then that I think it was my mum. We were talking about paranormal stuff anyway, mainly Sasha, because I didn't want to be embarrassed in front of my mum. And it was my mum that said, oh, do you remember that bird that used to come and sit next to you on my din top? You used to call it Inca. You know, and it was like, I don't remember that, but my mum, straight away, you used to call it Inca. And it was Sasha that looked it up, and it's some sort of blackbird, or, you know, some sort of bird, yeah. Within that, you know, blackbird with an orangey red beak, but yeah. Okay. And now at 4-year-old, how would I know it was called Inca? You know, it's just impossible. And I don't remember that, but yeah.
Is Sasha a medium, or is it like...
she's very much like me, a bit psychic.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure about, yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we say to each other we're medium, you know what I mean? But, you know, I don't like to say that, you know what I mean?
Like a lot of experiencers tend to be psychic too.
We are psychic, yeah.
Okay. Ah. So I had a lot of stuff that like voices would speak to me at night, like a female voice, and sometimes I'd see like in front of me, like this vision would appear all of a sudden. And
Mm.
one time I saw my brother's head, like in a bubble of energy, and I thought he was dying. At least the feeling that came to me was that he was drowning because his eyes were closed and his head was tilted to the side. And a week later, I
Yeah.
find out that he's at the hospital getting massive blood transfusions because
Oh no.
of toxic pills he was taking for his IBS, and the pills were
Yeah.
killing him. So I had a sort of like a vision of sorts, like to at least tell me that something was wrong. So that's like
Yeah.
I think that's somewhat like a theme that's continuous with when it comes to experiencers.
Yeah.
Okay,
I wouldn't say
so
it happens all the time, but yeah.
okay, not only maybe for me at least, it comes and goes. It's
Yeah, that's it. It's not continuous all day,
yeah,
24/7, you know.
yeah,
It's not.
I'd freak out. Um,
But
okay, so
my
this
first ever psychic thing, was I don't know if you've ever heard of the Lockerbie disaster, and it was a plane that come down. I think I might about 13. I can't remember, but I dreamt of a plane coming down and crashing and a load of screaming. It's on fire, and then it just blew up basically. And I come downstairs and I told my grandma about it. I'm sure it might have been younger than 1983. I can't remember. But I told my grandma about it anyway. And she said, well, there's not been on news. Now, for her to say that there's nothing been on the news, or it was just a dream, it was, well, there's not been on news.
okay.
So why would she say that anyways? But 2 weeks later, it happened.
Okay.
Exactly as I saw it, as if I was a cameraman watching it happening, where the cameraman is stood where the disaster was 2 weeks later. It was if I was stood in the exact same place, but watching it happening.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. Mm.
Goes to show that, all time and space, they're connected. That the fact that we're able to connect to something that powerful is it's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so this happened when you were 4. So what happened after that? Okay, what happened after that?
The next one, I was 6-year-old. So that had been 1977. I keep saying 1976. It's not, it's 1977 because I was born in December 70. And I was stood in, which is the house at the other side of my street, my old house where I lived when I was little. And my mum used to sit in the kitchen when the washer was on, and she'd sit there on a little buffet watching it go round and round and round, drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes, And we used to have a golden Labrador called Candy. And she, used to be winding up, come on, Candy. And she'd come bounding in from the kitchen, and then it'd been up for her, so she'd go back in. And I'd just keep tormenting her, playing, not, you know what I mean, throwing a ball or whatever she wanted. And then for some reason, I got it into my head that there's a pig at the window. And why? I don't know. So I started shouting, come on, Candy, there's a pig at window. Come on, Candy, there's a pig at window. So she'd come bounding in and she'd put a paws on the windowsill, look out like it's, smelling glass there and leaving that bit of condensation. And then she'd go run off. And she knew I was going to do it again. So she'd come bounding in, do it again. It was a game to her as much as it was to me, And it went on maybe 4 or 5 times. And my mum was telling me off, leave the dog alone. And I think she was more sick of me repeating myself, Candy, there's a pig at window, but not annoying the dog, you know what I mean? And so I just called it, Candy, there's a pig at window. And she come bounding in. She got her paws upon the windowsill. And she's there at the window. And she started backing off. like, it was like, at first it was like a bit of a whimper. And then it was like a bit of a low, really low, quiet growl. So it was, and I've never known Candy do that. She was such a placid dog, you know, well-behaved, placid. I don't even recall her ever barking, you know. And it's this, and she was backing off with her paws. So her body were going, her paws still there. And then she slowly brought her paws down. She went, her ankles are all up at the back. And she walked slowly backwards into the centre of the room. She spun round and then run into the kitchen. I can't remember whether it was a fast run into the kitchen or a slow run, but I remember it, you know. And I was like, what's she saying? I just couldn't figure out why she was making that noise. Not at that moment thinking, what is she saying? But it was that noise because I'd never heard it, you know. So, you know, I'd call her. Nope, she won't come in. She won't come in. In the meantime, it's like my mum, generally, you know, she'd shout, oh, you know, what have you done to a dog? Why is she whimpering? There was nothing, absolute nothing. Now I look back and I think, I know why, because she was shut down to this, you know? And and then I go up to the window, but we've got this main light on. So what I'm seeing out of the window is blackness because of the big light is giving a lot of reflection. So I tries to go up to the window like that and I couldn't see anything. So I cups my hands right up. So a pair of glasses there. It's then that I'm seeing like houses with, you know, the lights on, but the curtains are drawn, so the light's coming through. And then it's like these things kind of blocking right in center, but I don't see it as yet. So I'm kind of looking up the street at the houses opposite and that, and then it's kind of comes into focus what I'm seeing. And it's two big black eyes. Yeah, that is the first thing I see. It's on my level. So you've got to think of a 6-year-old level, you know, and that is as close to me. So it's like that with a pane of glass in front of us. Yeah.
So they were just outside the window, basically.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's close.
Yeah, it's the first thing grey, what you call now, is that I've ever seen.
Okay.
And it was nose, basically, I'm like that. It's like that with its eyes and the pane of glass in front of us. And I kind of, it was just so, I think I screamed. I must have screamed because I remember going like that. But my eyes had already adjusted to what I'm looking at now. So I'm focusing still on this thing. I've only gone back a little bit, but I'm sure I'd have screamed. And if I had done, even if jumping back, you know, being startled and alarmed by something, my mum had said, what you doing? What's happening in there? And there was nothing. And then I'm seeing it kind of moving back. It's got its eyes at me continuously, but it's kind of moving back. Now, what looks like it's doing a backwards run. You know, you run backwards. But there's like a three and a half foot wall I've got. So between the window and the wall, there's about a metre difference. And then it's the pavement after the wall. Do you get what I mean? So it's just a little strip of garden. And it looks like it's running backwards over the wall, but in really, really slow motion. But now I'm looking at it, I'm seeing the full grey head, the big eyes. I can't tell you. I can see two little holes there. Don't know whether it's got a nose. Can't see a mouth because I'm not actually focusing on that. My main focus is the eyes, and so I'm seeing that bit more and that. And but when I'm looking, then it's not actually touching the wall when it's like running backwards to escape, but it's slow motion. it's actually gliding over the wall, but making the running really exaggerated, like cartoon exaggerated.
That's funny.
Get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you saw its
So
body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not its feet though. I didn't see its feet.
Okay.
I saw it to it's just below its knees, because it's gone over backwards and it's looking at me all the same time as I'm looking at it. And it's then it kind of lands on the pavement. So now whether it were gliding on the pavement, hovering, I have no idea. But it definitely glided over that wall with no, if you're going to run, you make a bobbing motion. It made the movement, but it just glided over. So it's just so hard to explain, but really exaggerated, the motion of it. It's like gone, and then it's turned to its side, full on side like that. And it's looking at me, but it's like, I can't do it. It's like right over, but it's head straight up and it's turned. Its head is really turned. So it's facing up straight and it's like that, but it's really.
Yeah.
When we bend down, his head will only go so far. Yeah. So it's that, and what I'm seeing is a long thin arm, because I'm seeing the side of it. It's a long thin arm and it's got long fingers. I can't tell you how many there is. It's definitely a grey tone. And a blue, what looks like a blue tight fitting top, but the neck of it is actually quite round out, probably to about there. So it'd get its entire head through without having to pull it. You know what I mean? And it finishes there. It looks like it's navy blue, really dark navy blue. But bearing in mind, it's only coming from the light from my window. So it could have been a lighter colour than that. To get what I mean, a lighter blue. But what I'm seeing is dark blue. And it finished. Now, I'm not sure whether it's finished above the knee, this tight fitting suit, or just below the knee. That I just can't. I just can't get it. Ask me this 10 years ago, I'd have remembered it. I can, you know what I mean? But as time's going on, I just can't get it now. And it started to do this exaggerated running motion, but went right over with head up looking. And it's exaggerated. But again, it's running up the street away, but it's watching me. It does not. It's like as if its head can go all the way around. And it's running, but it ain't running because it's gliding and it's not bobbing up and down. So it's doing this exaggerated motion again, really, really, really slow, all the while staring at me. Won't take its eyes off me, and it's gliding. It's not doing that bobbing motion, and I know that damn well it's done what it did when it went over the wall.
Did you get a sort of sense of how high that gray was?
Yeah, about my height, because it might have been a bit smaller because it's about that much difference between where I'm standing in the house and the outside garden, because I have actually checked, so it's about that much difference. But was it hovering? Because it hovered over the wall, it hovered up the street,
Okay.
So I don't know whether it was hovering or it was my, if it was my height and the outside is a bit lower than the inside, then it must have been taller than me if it was stood.
Okay. Wow. So no wonder your dog freaked out. So, okay, did anything of consequence happen after that visitation?
Right. So, like I said, when I was in the house, and you'd think that my mum would call me and, and shout at me again, leave that bloody dog alone or whatever. There was nothing. And it was like as if everything was quiet and silent. I know the television was on because my mum had put it on for me anyway. But I don't recall hearing that, you know. You'd remember things going off and still noise going on. You do hear it and you do see it, and you know what I mean? But I don't remember anything there, that noise. And then it's like when the thing has gone up the street and it's still looking at me, and I've gone right to the window to see how far I could look up. Well, I can only see as far as my next door neighbours. And I thought, I don't know whether it's gone straight up the street or down the alleyway. Now, down the alleyway is where I sat, where the bird, you know what I mean? From when I was 4, yeah.
Okay.
So, and then everything kind of started up again. You know, I could hear the television, I could hear the washing machine going, you know.
Did they stop time? It's
like as if, yeah.
Wow.
And the slow motion and then speed up and
yeah. See, I've seen photos of people that let's say they had like an ET visitation, and so somebody came into the house and started taking pictures, and you know, the landlord left, so the dog was still in the apartment. But when they came into the apartment, the actual dog was frozen stiff.
Yeah,
there was an ET in the that came not too long, and it froze it. So I took the people took photos of that actual dog and moved around it, and the dog didn't move. It was frozen stiff.
didn't move.
So they do stop time. So that's when people, you know, when you've got like let's say your husband's in the bed and he's sleeping, but he can't wake up, and you're like paralyzed. But you know, they can really freeze time and stop you from getting up. So that's what they did with the dog. So that was really, to see that image really freaked me out.
Yeah, can imagine.
Okay. So now, did your mom see the gray?
No, it was just me and dog, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I never told her about it. I wouldn't tell my mum anything.
Oh. So she wasn't like your go-to person to talk about these things?
No, not at all.
Did you have somebody to talk to?
No, not until I was 41. I mean, there's obviously really close friends knew, you know, but I could tell they were a bit dubious, you know what I mean? Well, if they've never gone through it, I probably feel the same as them. So I can understand why they'd find it a bit way out, you know? But yeah.
Okay. So did anything happen after that? Because I know you had contact with Greys and stuff like that. So did they come to you as a kid? Did they abduct you as a kid?
Wait a minute, it's a fly.
Loves you, yeah.
Abduct me as a kid. Now, I'm not sure. Because the next one is that I'm 12-year-old and this is in the woods. So I can't tell you whether I was abducted if I've blacked out. Do you get what I mean? I'd be just lying if I knew that had happened. So what happened was I was 12-year-old at the time. I remember it being October. It was, I'm 100% certain it was a full moon or near enough a full moon. And it was pretty clear was the sky. I don't recall clouds, but it might have been them little bits, you know. And it was... I'm sure that I went to school. I think it were a Friday when this happened. Because if I were going to go out with my friend, I'd have been out all day, you know what I mean? But we wasn't out. And where we'd have gone earlier and not at 6:15 at night. So I think, yeah, we're at school. So it were a Friday. Because on the Saturday, I remember not having to go to school. So it's the only way that I could think of what happened there. But yeah, so my friend had rung me up or called for me, whichever one it was. She only lives 2 minutes down the road. And she says, I said, so what we're doing today then? Well, you know what we're doing tonight? Are we hanging about? Or, you know what I mean? Where we hanging out? So, we'll go down to the woods. you know, she's 14 actually. She's not 12. She's 14. So I thought, you know, I put my trust in her, 14-year-old. She's going to be a bit wiser than me. You know what I mean? But why would you go to woods in dark? You know what I mean? I just, but my first initial thought is a park just over the road from here. And I'm like, all right, okay, we're going to go through park where there's tiny little woodland bit. I can deal with that. You know what I mean? Set us off in opposite direction. We're not going to that park. We're going over that way. You know what I mean? I will have questioned it and said, look, park's that way, not that way. You know, I will have done it, but I don't remember saying it, you know? And so we set off to this woods, and it's about 2 miles away, and it's called Judy Woods. And it's big. It's an ancient woods. It's big. And there's like, I think there's 3 parts to this woods. Now, when years later, I've looked up about these woods, you know, and it's a UFO hotspot place, which I didn't know at 12-year-old. You know, I've no actual interest in that. I didn't even know what it was. So sets off, and we're talking. I don't know what we're talking about, but we eventually gets to edge of the woods. Now I'm in like a little pathway, and it's got a fence at each side, maybe 6 foot high, this fence at each side. And I can see the trees further down. And it's wide enough, is this path, for me and my friend to walk side by side. I don't know whether she's at that side or that side of me. But I could, over the fence, if you kind of go like that and kind of look up and over, you can see lights on in bedrooms. You can't see lower. You know, you can't see the ground floor. You can only see bedrooms, or if they've got the light on in the bathrooms, you know. And not every house were lit up. But the moonlight was giving that, so we could see where we were going. We were struggling to see where we were going, but if it weren't for the moonlight, it'd have been more difficult. So as we're getting further and further, the path is getting narrower. So I can't remember if I were in front of her or she were in front of me by this point, because it's single file now. So then we've got these trees starting to overlap the fence. Yeah. It's only a short walk, you know. So trees are overlapping. So now it's blocking that bit of moonlight. So it's a bit hard to see again. So we probably slowed down a bit more now, watching where we're going. And then we comes into like a clearing. It's like as if the fence just stops. I don't know whether it did stop. I don't know whether it's panned out. I don't know, you know. But we've come to this clearing now. It's not much of a clearing, but it's there, you know. But there's still trees there that are going that way and trees going that way. And what I'm seeing is right in the distance are like little tiny street lights and house lights, you know. But it's only over that side. But at this side, it's kind of more dense of woodland. So I'm making the trees out from the sky. And then I start hearing lapping of water, really gentle lapping of water. But it's like, oh, you know, I thought we were closer to the water than what we actually were. You know, so it's like, oh, I can, no, we're not quite there yet. So I'm really struggling to see on floor, you know, to see where this water is. But as my eyes have adjusted, it's a bit, I can take 2 or 3 steps more and then the edge of the water would be there, you know. So we just took a few steps forward, and now I'm not seeing these lights in the back, you know, little street, tiny street lights. It's far away. And what I'm seeing now is right before us, I'd say 10 feet. I cannot give a definite distance. You know, I'm 12-year-old, so what probably look closer then as an adult, it might be a tiny bit further away. So it could be 10 feet, 15 feet away from us. But because of the size of this thing, it probably did look closer, because this thing was like 30 foot that way, 30 foot that way. And it was shaped like, if you imagine a boomerang with an extra arm on it. So it was kind of that shape. And it had a light on each side. But you have to turn your head to look. You know what I mean? At the size of this thing, you can't just go like that. You've got to really strain your neck to look up at it. And I remember it having a blue light, a green light, or were it red? Oh, do you know what? As I'm getting older, memories going more. And there's a light on, but it's like slowly turning between 1 and 5 miles an hour. Now, why I say that is, at 12-year-old, we don't have that concept of miles per hour. You know what I mean? But I know it was slow, and I'm saying it from how I see it now. So it's between 1 and 5 miles an hour. But there's this light as it's turning. It's got a light on each of these things, on ends. But I cannot get what that light is there. I just can't. I can't get it. I just can't get it. I know it's there. I can't get the colour of it. It's then that I notice it's got a black. Now, this thing is black. It's silent, right? But I noticed this big circle in the centre. Big circle. And I'm just, it's probably wider than my hands. You know what I mean? What I'm doing like that, I bet it's, another one of them. You know what I mean? It's huge. Now, I thought this thing was black. But when you look at this circle in the centre, I can't tell you whether it were a hole or a flat. It was that black. Now, only thing that I could put it to now is the scientists brought out this colour Vanderblack, didn't they? So I can only say now, I couldn't describe it years and years ago, before they brought this Vanderblack out. But now I can say it's Vanderblack. It's that black that there's nothing, you know what I mean? So I don't know whether it's a black hole or a flat. I don't know, And like I say, it's still turning. I'm seeing my friend out of my peripheral view, but I'm still concentrating on that. And then I see what looks like a fan of white light come down. So it looked like where the black centre is, it's like, so this thing's turning, so this light comes down, which looked like it could have been at the back of it. So whatever it was with the light down, I think there's something stationary there. Otherwise, this fan of light would go around with the thing, wouldn't it? But it's only like 2 feet is this light. And it's a circular. When it's on the water, it's made a small circular pattern, It's only small. And what the thing is that I'm looking at it, and it's like it's like a mist coming off it. And it's like as if the water is slightly simmering, not boiling, but just slightly simmering with this mist thing coming off it. Then I notice that my friend is no longer at that side. She's at that side of me on my left. I hadn't seen her move. I hadn't seen her come in front of me. I hadn't seen, because I've got a good peripheral view anyway. So if she moved, even her arm, I'd be able to see her, So I don't know if she's gone that way, but she's now at my left-hand side. So I'm like, but it's like as if at this point, everything has slowed right down, really, really slow. and I can hear my heart beating, and I can hear me breathing, and nothing else. And then I kind of look at my friend, but it ain't just a look, it's a really slow look. And then I see her face, and it's absolutely horrified. I'm not feeling what she's feeling. It's really weird to explain. I just know that I aren't feeling what she's feeling at this moment. And her eyes are big, you know, and her mouth's like that, you know, and she's just terrified. You can see how terrified she is. And now I'm thinking, how am I seeing her? How is this? It's then that I see that she's bathed in blue light. It's not electric blue. It's a really like a pale light blue, you know, and she's just bathed in it. And I'm noticing that this from head to toe, but it's not going beyond her. It's not reflecting off the ground. There's a few leaves there. It should have been reflecting off that. Nothing. It's just lit up her. And I've slowly turned my head back again, and I've gone like that with my hands, and I'm all lit up blue. And next minute, I just kind of really slow motion again. And I remember grabbing her with my right arm, top of her right arm. So if I'm going to run, I'm going to be dragging her backwards, you know, at least I'm taking her with me, not leaving her. So she kind of repositioned herself, I don't know, but I remember dragging her backwards, you know. And so it's like now I'm going in slow motion. I remember her, she's just there. She's there. I can see her with my peripheral, but I'm looking that way. I'm sure I've still got hold of her. I'm certain I am. You know what I mean? And we're just running really slow motion, running. And it's like I'm getting slower and slower. And now it feels like I'm sinking into ground. And I'm just going down, down, and this blackness is coming in. Boom. I'm at the bottom of my street. And I'm just walking along. And then I hear children. It's not like as if I landed at the bottom of the street. I'm just walking. And whatever's just taken place, I don't remember it. I don't remember that moment. So I get around the corner and I can hear kids. And I thought, oh, there's a party. Now, bearing in mind, I've gone out at 6:15. It takes a good half hour probably to get to them woods. No, maybe a bit more, 45 minutes. Even coming home from the woods would bring it up to about 9 o'clock. Yeah? So if we've seen that within seconds, I've turned around, I've run home, or whatever, it'll be about 9:15, 9 o'clock. So I'm just thinking, right, probably that time. So I'm coming up this street, and I can hear loads of kids, and they're riding on the BMXs. And, you know, this parent stood at door, and my first thought is, oh, there's a party. Because there's kids out and adults out, and they're all talking, you know, and I'm like, oh, I'm missing a little party. But as I'm getting further up the street, it's only a small street, is this? So we've only got 25 houses, you know? So you can imagine it's just small. As I'm getting like a third of the way up the street, I hear the kids then, the tone of the kids, say, Paula's here, Paula's here. And I'm like, well, what? You know what I mean? Yeah, I must be missing party and they've been looking for me. But then I'm hearing, you're in trouble from these kids. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. And I'm like, what have I done? I couldn't get my head round Why am I in trouble? I walks a little bit further up and I sees a local policeman stood at my grandma's door, which was this house that I'm in now. Yeah. So he stood there. My nan stood in the doorway, but she was a big burly woman. So she kind of filled up the doorway and having her arm, leaning on the door casing there, but having her arm there. And the policeman was stood there. And it were, I don't know whether you know that the policeman used to wear big hats like that. Yeah. Well, that's what this one looked like. They were called PC Milner. And so he were our local policeman. And as I'm walking up, I burst out crying. And them kids are telling me you're in trouble. And there's a policeman at the door. Well, I'm 12 years old. First thing I think, I'm going to prison. I don't know what I've done. I don't know where I've been, but I'm going to prison. You know, I just couldn't get my head around why am I going to prison? So as I'm walking up, I'm still getting torment from kids. Gets up the garden path, and I want to go into the house, you know, and it's like I mean, my grandma's blocking it. She ain't letting me in, you know. And it was this policeman and said, "Where have you been?" Don't know. Where have you been? Don't know. Well, to be honest, I didn't know, did I? I couldn't. Half of it, I was telling the truth. The other half, I couldn't say that I'd been upwards because I would get grounded for a month besides a good slap, you know. But the other half, I don't know where I've been. But it's only then that it come back. Boom. You know what you saw in Woods, Paula? And it was as if someone was saying, don't tell her. Don't tell her. Don't tell her. You know? And they go, where have you been? Don't know. Where have you been? Don't know. You know? So eventually I'm really, really upset now because they're going me to tell them and I can't tell them. No way can I tell them where I've been or more of the fact that what I've just seen. So eventually my grandma's thought, you know, she's really upset now, you know, because she pulls her arm down and she said, get in like this. I'll go straight in, goes up the stairs there, straight to bed, sheet over. I thought she's not interrogating me anymore, you know, no way. So I don't know what happened out there then, but all I remember is the next day waking up and my grandma, because it's a 1-bedroom house, so she had double bed, I had a single bed. So my grandma was already downstairs and I don't know what time I'd got up, I don't know. But yeah, she's downstairs because I looked at bed straight away. I thought, phew, you know what I mean? I'm not going to get interrogated until I go downstairs. So I kind of creeps about a bit thinking, well, yep, floorboards are a bit creepy. So she would know that I was getting up, even though I would like tiptoeing at corners because they don't creak in corners by wall. So anyway, I thought, right, go to the bathroom, get changed or whatever I'm doing. I'm going to have to go downstairs at some point. You know, can't stay here all day for the rest of my life. So anyway, I comes downstairs and I'm waiting. I sit on the sofa and I'm waiting for her to interrogate me. And there's kids outside, on the same kids, not all of them, but the same kids that were out the night before on the BMXs. You know, the few of them are out there going up and down the street on the BMXs. And I'm sat there thinking, right, so I'm gonna get it off me nan. And once I go out to go for my friend, I'm gonna get it off what did police say? You know what I mean? I'm sat there waiting, and you know what my nan said? Good old fashioned British saying, do you want a cup of tea? And I was like, I don't know even whether I had a cup of tea or not, because I was that mesmerized that would be the first thing you would say? No. And it didn't happen. The interrogation didn't happen. So I rings my friend up and I says, are you coming out? You know, meet me. Like I said, you're only 2 minutes away, a minute each. We meet halfway. So I sets off. As I'm going down path, I'm thinking, oh God, I'm going to get bullied by these kids again. Not a word. Not a word. It was like it never, that last night never happened. So I meets my friend further down the road, on the main road. And I says to her, what time did you get in last night? This is a 12-year-old. Now, we don't care at that age what time it is. You know what I mean? We don't care. You know what I mean? It's we know when it's dark, we got to go in. So I said, what time did you get in last night? And I think she said it were about 9:10, 9:15. Right, I'm going to go back because I've missed the most important thing out now. So let's go back. She doesn't remember getting home, but she remembers having a drink of coffee and she stood in her front room. She remembers taking a few steps up to a house and then having a coffee. That's it. I'm going to go back now and you'll get where this missing time comes from. I didn't get home at 9:10, 9:15. I'm coming up that path and I'm getting interrogated by this policeman. And he's saying to me, do you realise what time it is? I don't give a crap what time it is. Just let me in this house. You know what I mean? And I'm good, but I can't say that. You know what I mean? I'm good. No, you're making your grandma really upset. Do you realise what time it is? No, it's 5 to midnight. Where have I been? I don't know. But wherever I've been, I've landed at bottom of the street. From the woods 2 miles away to the bottom of the street. So we're talking like 4 hours. And to this day, I don't know where I've been. It's just blackness. Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, that's a lot of missing time.
Yeah.
Okay. Does your friend recall seeing the UFO?
I didn't ask her. I get this question. I didn't ask her. You know, it's like something telling me, don't ask. You know, like us sent me, you know, don't tell my grandma where I've been. Don't tell her. Don't tell her. Don't tell her. And it's that sort of thing. But I did say to her, do you remember going home last night? And she said she remembers it being in the house with a coffee. Thought about it a bit. I remember going in house. How she got home. Surely she's gone the same way as me. But she didn't go home at the same time as me. You know? She was home at the actual time that we should have been if we'd have walked or run. So she was home then, but she done. Now, whether she's seen it, remembered it or anything, she must have done. She's got to have done. Wow. But maybe she's thinking, you know, did I really see that last night? Did that really happen? You know? But after that, it was like we saw less and less of each other. So I don't know. Don't know where I've been. Don't know how. But yeah.
So she's the actual reason why you saw that UFO, because she's the one that brought you over there. So I guess she was being controlled.
Other people have said that. I ain't saying that, but ain't that such a coincidence to say that, you know, we don't hang around on streets. I mean, when I was 12, you know, it was like you hang on street corners, you know what I mean? And there'd be a gang of you and you know what I mean? So it was just so unusual that she'd want to go down to these woods. So later and later and later in years, this is when I looked up about Judy Woods and it's a UFO hotspot, yeah.
Wow. That reminds me of a story of a friend of mine. I'm not sure how old she was. She's with a friend, either in a car or they're on bikes. But they get the feeling that they have to be somewhere, so they either
Yeah.
drive to this place, okay, and they realize they're in a, let's say, a field outside of town. It's like a small village, but outside of town, and a whole bunch of children are there from that town.
Mhm.
They were all like, guess they everyone had to, they felt that they had to be there,
Be there.
and they
Yeah.
everyone looks up and a UFO appears over them.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's some of this,
Brilliant.
yeah, almost the same thing. Uh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. I mean, I've been asked, would I have regression? And I don't even think flipping regression would bring it back, to be honest. I really don't. I really don't think it'd, that missing time, I don't think it'd bring it back.
Yeah, I suppose you got
Uh,
abducted, but
well, could have, but then how did I get to the bottom of this street? I know I didn't run because I know I was going in. It felt like I was going in. It was like I was running in quicksand, and I was just getting lower in at ground, and then blackness. And in the thing where you faint, the difference between fainting and this.
yeah.
I've had both, so I know there's a massive difference.
Okay. So I guess this happened early teens. Did anything happen after that?
Yeah, when I was 13, there were a mill at the bottom of my street. In between those times, there might have something happened. I don't know if there were. I don't recall it.
Okay.
So I'm not going to fill spaces if I don't remember.
No.
So I was 13, and I'd gone to bed, just an ordinary night, gone to bed, right? Next minute, I'm stood on a mill at the bottom of the bottom of the street at the time. We had this mill. The chimney is still there. It's a big chimney, but the mill set on fire recently, and they had to knock it down, what were left of it. But this mill, it's a Victorian. It was built in Victorian times, and I was stood on the roof of this mill. Right, so from going to sleep, I'm down there, and I can see out of my peripheral view up this street here. And what in front of me is a massive round light, nose to nose with this round light. I can see a bit of a light, another coloured light there. Ask me what colour they are. No idea, but they're there. All I can say is that these colours are not what we see in our spectrum. So you can't imagine. So I can't even give you a word or a description because there's nothing here of that colour. You know what I mean? Mm. So I've got this big one right in front of me, and this one there, and just there. And I know it's rounded. This thing is, what I'm stood in front of is rounded. I could tell by when I'm looking using my peripheral by the shape of the lights going round. I also can see straight up the top of my street. So I'm looking kind of, if I'm using my eyes, I'm looking down at my street, but further up. But I'm not, I'm using peripheral. So now this thing is stationary. In front of me, it is stationary. Now, I heard my grandma's door going. It banged a bit. And it's so quiet. I don't even know what time it is. I don't know. But I remember seeing a man walking on the bottom of the street, and he was really drunk, really staggering, and he's trying to light a cigarette. So this is out of my peripheral view, but because I've got to keep my eyes on this light here. I can't take my eyes off that light, but I'm watching him down there in my peripheral, and he's staggering about trying to light this cigarette while he's drunk. and he goes out of sight, and I hears my grandma's door. And what made me laugh is we had a cat, we used to call it Fat Dog. So, well, its original name was Zoe, but we found out it were a male, and it was like a dog, you know what I mean? And it was big, so we called it Fat Dog. So what made me laugh is because I knew what my grandma were going to do next, and he's called the cat in, and she couldn't go. She could only go, right? Well, that made me laughing to look at me. If you'd have seen my face when I stood on that building, it was probably dead straight, and you wouldn't have known what emotion I've got. But internally, I was laughing because I knew that my nan was going to call cat like that. And I remember her looking down the street like that. It wasn't a long while, and she kind of went in backwards and shut the door. So next minute, I'm awake, it's morning. And I get ready, goes downstairs. And my nan said, you better sit down. I thought she had some bad news or something, you know what I mean? I'm like, she says, you'll never guess what I saw last night. I went, what did you see? I had a feeling. I said, what did you see? And she went, oh, it was the most beautiful flying saucer. Where were it? Where were it, Nan? Where were it? It were over at Milldam Road there, and it was turning. It was big and flat like a saucer, and it had all these colours round it, big round red, red round lights, and you know what I mean. And she said it was turning. Yet I was stood in front of it, and it was stationary, and I was like, what? So it were basically over the mill where I'm stood in my dream. You know what I mean? Yeah, I went upstairs and I burst out crying because I thought I was stood in front of what she saw. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. It's so fun getting confirmation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I couldn't tell her that I was stood there.
Oh, no.
Again, no.
Okay. Wow. I had confirmation once that something I thought was a dream too. Like late 2012, end of the world, December. I started meditating a lot and try to project my spirit and try to communicate with star people. And one time I was sleeping and I wake up, but it really felt real. I'm in a white corridor, very long white corridor, multiple doors on each side. And I'm on the floor, and I raise my head and I see a gray, but wearing a doctor's lab coat. So I tell him I raise my hand and like that to get up, and he picks up my hand, so I get up, and I realize he's probably 6 feet tall. Well, at least I'm 6 feet tall, so I'm face to face with him, and I realize he's got these really big black eyes. I didn't see any nose, didn't see any mouth, but he had very spiky hair at the back of his head, and I couldn't put like a name on that, on what I was seeing regarding the hair. They were very dense, very spiky, unkept. And years and years, I couldn't like say if it actually happened until I was on Misha Johnson's radio show. And what I described was like exactly what her hybrid children, the type of hair they had. She called it cotton candy hair. Yeah. And when she said that, I thought, oh my God. So it actually happened. So it could be like an out of body thing. Your spirit goes to some place. But freaky still.
It is, and but I still won't say, I'll never say what I think it is because I don't know what it is. I really don't.
No. Okay. Wow. So the drawing of the gray you gave me. To what event can we put that to?
Just an event that's in the shadows.
Okay.
It's like, because I've had them in my bedroom, and it tends to be this light appears from, it's not bright light, It's, you know, it's not like that. It's just a really calm, suffused light, and it's in the shadows. So this is why it's darkness behind it.
Wow. So
Yeah.
that's what you saw.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
It ain't just a, you know, it ain't just a one time, you know, it's, yeah.
Still, okay. So a lot of things happened to you as a kid. Did going on into adulthood, did more stuff happen?
Oh, yeah. A lot more.
Okay.
Mainly when I met, I mean, there were a lot more going on. I had a 10-year gap, which is strange because I had my daughter, you know, this other stuff as well, but it'll take me ages, you know, 7 hours to tell you it all. But I had the biggest gap I had was 10 years when I had my daughter. And now, it's so bizarre how it works out, because within that 10 years, I do not even recall what happened to me previous. It was only after the 10 years that I knew it had all happened. But yeah, I knew it all happened before 10 years. It was like I'd shut off to it when I had my daughter. I don't know why. Now, when my daughter was 5 years old, she had her own little bedroom and unlocked doors, as you do. Go to bed, lock windows, lock doors. I was a single parent anyway, so I take that extra precaution. You know, I'm not going to leave key door. I'm not going to leave windows open. You know what I mean? And I could, you know, when you're asleep and you can hear really distant noise, and it does make you wake up, but eventually, you know, you think, you're lying there, am I dreaming this, or is this noise happening? You know, it's like half asleep, half awake. And I could hear this really crying and screaming and of a child. And I'm thinking, the hell? But I'm thinking, you know, I'm dreaming this. No, I'm awake. No, I'm dreaming. Until it actually gets louder and louder and louder. And I boom, and I sat up and I thought, shit, Hannah, which is my daughter. Hannah, first thing, what do? Jump out of bed, go into her bedroom. She's not there. Bathroom, attic, downstairs, kitchen, you name it, not there. But every which way I'm going towards the, you know, of this screaming and this crying's getting louder. And right, okay, front door. I've had to unlock it. There's a bolt across the top and the main key. So I've had to get that off the fireplace top to open it, and she's outside in the middle of the street, looking up. They're getting me, or they've got me. They're getting me, or they've got me, one or the other. And I was like, you're having a nightmare, Hannah, you're having a dream. You know, it just didn't connect at all after what I've gone through. It never connected, you know. And I'm like, come on, Lola, come on, you're having a nightmare, having a dream, trying to make her come round a bit. And, you know, people's coming at door, you know, on the street and said, oh, what's happening, you know. And it just didn't connect. And I've took her in house and she doesn't remember a thing about it. How did she get out of that house? Who got her? You know what I mean?
Well, she got abducted. She got brought back. They do that often.
Yeah.
The door's always locked and you can't come back.
I couldn't see it at the time. Like I said, it was like a memory block I had for 10 years. And maybe that memory block, that 10-year memory block, so I couldn't stop it happening to my daughter.
Oh.
You know? But she doesn't have it like that now. You know what I mean? It's strange how it never continued with her.
How old is she now?
She's 26. Yeah. Yeah.
So she doesn't remember it?
No. Well, she remembers that.
Okay.
Yeah. And she remembers like lying in bed and she was calling me. And again, I was coming around from sleep and I hears this, mom, you know what I mean? And I goes in and I went, what's up with you? You know, I'm seeing lumps and bumps coming out at floor, lumps and bumps, like something were making a shape and then going back down again. Yeah.
Amazing.
And then there were another time, my grandma used to own an house, which is like 1/4 mile from here. I wasn't born then, neither was obviously my daughter. And when my grandma lived at that house, this other house, my mum was maybe about 12 years old. And God, how old what year would that be? 19? She was born in 51. It was about 1963, something. Yeah. No, it couldn't have been, could it? Yeah, it could, yeah. And yeah, well, anyway, so, you know, time moves on, they move house, do what have you. My mum grows up. You know, everyone settles down. My mum has kids, has me, has my sister. And she says, if that house where my grandma used to live and my mum when she was little, if the house ever goes up for sale, I'm going to buy it. But as years went on, the area become really bad. You wouldn't want to walk on there, never mind buy a house, right? So my mum, I was driving past or whatever she was doing, and she sees it's for sale. Sale sign up, blah, blah, blah. So she says to my daughter, how old was my daughter then? She'd be about 13, 14 at this point. Oh, do you want to go for a ride and see where I used to live when I was little? You know, when I was 12-year-old. And, you know, Hannah said, yeah, I'll go with you. You know, it's on Copley Street on the other end of the road. So they've drove on. And what's happened is it's a terraced house. And they've blocked up the doorway, the main doorway. So the other doorway, you'd have to go around back to use the other doorway. And the window has got, you won't be able to see through it because it's got net curtains, it's got curtains, and you know what I mean? There's no way you can see through that. My daughter didn't have a clue about this house where my mum lived when she was 12. So they pulls up this street where the house is for sale. And my mum went, oh, I won't buy it now, but I wouldn't mind having a look to see what it were like as from when I was 12. You know what I mean? Up to now, you know? So Hannah said, you won't like it. Hannah's my daughter. My mum went, why? And where's my mum's telling me after? And she said, she's just staring at the house out at car window. You won't like it, Nana. And she went, why? She says, because they've made it into an open plan kitchen with an archway so you can walk through into a dining room. And my mum's like, how do you know? And she went, I don't know. I can just see it. You know? And I'm like, so when my mum's telling me this, I'm like, well, you know what? It's totally believable. You know what I mean? So she drops my daughter back off at home at my house. And my mum rings the estate agent whose house it is that's selling it. And she says, can I have details or send me a form through of the plan of the layout of this house, basically? So they've sent her this plan, gets it day after, or they've told her, whichever way, or might have done both. But yeah, the kitchen was renovated. And so the kitchen goes straight through a dining room, and it's got an arch but no doors. Just like my daughter saw it. You know what I mean? She could see through it. You won't like it, Nana.
We know things beforehand. I don't know why. Feelings and stuff. My dad, my mom passed away in 2014. And like for the entire year before she passed away, um, each time I'd see a lovely lady his age, I'd tell
Mm,
myself, "Oh, I'd love to like to present my, this lady to my dad." And
yeah,
and for an entire year, and I was sort of pissed off. I said, "Why would I want that to happen?" My parents were with each other since the age of 16.
yeah, yeah,
So it didn't make sense. And I love both parents deeply. And for the entire year, I was pissed off each time. Like, why am I
oh
saying that?
yeah,
Why am I saying that? Until the day my mom dies, and I'm helping my dad log on to dating websites to help him find somebody else.
yeah,
Yeah. So I hate this. It's like a gift, but a curse. But
yeah. It is. Yeah, it is. I won't even call it. It's more of a burden that we've got.
yeah,
Because I can't see it as a gift. If somebody gave me this as a gift, if I have that, you can have it back because I really don't like it. You know what I mean? It's a burden, really.
yeah. It's like if I
No.
tell me the lottery numbers for starters, that would help out. But true. But
Something I
yeah.
can't do.
So yeah, pretty cool. So, yeah, with your daughter. Okay.
Yeah.
So when did the Tans and the Reptilians come into play?
Oh, these are in my 40s now. I mean,
Wow.
these other things taken place before,
Okay.
but the actual, no, I'll get to the first ones when I first saw the first Tans. What it was is, we was in this room that I'm in now, when my grandma's house. And when I was 21, she passed away. So she'd left the house to me. So basically, I've lived on my own since I was 21. So they had a table at the back there. I know you can't see my layout of the room, but we had a table back there. And at the window, she had some plastic blinds. Yeah. And it felt like, so there were my mum, my sister, and my grandma. And I know it was a Sunday because it was the only time that my grandma had get the bone china out. Yeah. So, but I was on the sofa, which isn't, it was kind of more forward at the time. And it felt like I was in, like, if you think of, well, you're not going to put your head in a fish tank, but you can imagine that, you know what I mean? It's that blurry kind of and noise, and you know what I mean?
Mm.
But then that's just what it felt like. But when I look back now, I know that either I want there or they want there. I were put in a position where I felt safe. You know what I mean? I think mainly that it's me that probably want there, and that was just a scenario playing out of my mum and my grandma and my sister. And I went to the window, and I remember looking out through, latticed blinds, and I'm thinking, why is there small children at the bottom of my garden? 3 small children at the bottom of my garden. It's like you come out of the door, you've got a tarmac walkway to the gate. And I'm like, I was getting really mad. And I was trying to tell these, Mum, there's some kids at the bottom of the garden. Not thinking at that moment why they're all dressed the same. Not at all. No, they're all dressed the same. But my mind ain't thinking that. I'm just thinking there's 3 kids and I want them out of my garden. Right? So they sat. One is facing the door and the other 2 are facing each other. So it's that. And it looked like they were playing with an old record player, a portable fidelity record player. And this record player, remember, it were red and cream. I've never seen one. Maybe someone had one, but I don't recall ever having one or my family having one. So that might have been something imprinted in my mind. And it's like, now I'm seeing them play. So you've got your stylus, and it kept going like that. Everything they did was repetitive. So with the stylus, it was pricking its finger, going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and it would just repetitive, nothing changed. And then one got the slip mat and it were going like that with slip mat. And then the other had the plug and it kept going like that, you know. Well, you have 2 pin plugs, don't you? Well, we have 3 pin plugs. So, you know, it touch 3 pins like that. Repeat, repeat, repeat. It's then that I've noticed that they're wearing what looks like robes. And it looks like potato sack, sort of Hessian, but a bit darker. And they've got these big hoods up that are covering probably like, but because I think it's because they've got their heads on, so you can't see the face. But once they're up, you probably see that much. And the hood is kind of hanging over the shoulder there. They've got these bell sleeves. It's quite tight fitting, but the bell sleeves. And then they're all got this rope. And this rope looks like a goldy beige colour. And it's tied to the left in a knot. And they're all dressed the same. And this knot and this belt thing is all to the left. Yeah. And I don't know whether they're kneeling down or they're very small people. You know what I mean? I think they're possibly kneeling down because the record player is on the floor. And the way that the like robe thing splays out, it'd drop. If they were stood up, it'd drop, wouldn't it? It wouldn't splay out. So I think they knelt down. It's then that I noticed the brown finger, wrinkly, tan. Well, they're not actually tan, you know. They're like a charred brown colour, you know, and it's like, I can't tell you whether they've got 3 fingers or 4, but I know there's not 5. I'm definitely not 5. And they're very bony and long. So probably up, you know, that finger's up to there. And the knuckle bit is bigger, you know, than ours. But whereas you have that bit there, it kind of, it's like that. And it goes straight to the wrist. So you don't have this here. There's no need for it. You know what I mean? And then I noticed the fingernails, and the very neat fingernails, but they look like a grey charred colour, a brownie, dark, but the neat. It is so strange. And I thought, I don't want them. I don't want them here. But it's like, it still didn't connect that these are not children. Even though I know what I'm looking at, it still did not connect that these are not children. And I want them out of my garden. And I thought, right, how do I take a closer look at these children? I know. 3 strides, I'm at the door. I gets down on my hands and knees and he opens the letterbox and you have to lift it up like that and to look through. And I'm like that, trying to work out why there's 3 kids at the bottom of my garden and they've got robes on. They've got brownie fingers. You know what I mean? It still didn't connect, you know? And then all of a sudden it were like the one that were facing the door had gone whoosh, whoosh, boom, and it's right at the other side of my letterbox with its eyes. Now, what I'm seeing is the brownie skin, what they call the timbre. It's more of a brown to me, and it's really, really wrinkly, you know, but they're not deep wrinkles, but they're there, you know what I mean? They're very prominent, but not deep. So they kind of go around and then that bit goes down here and then you've got a bit there, but I'm not seeing much of that because I think the hood is coming to about there, but I remember seeing kind of that, you know what I mean? But because it's right there, other side at letterbox, I'm starting to feel weak and I'm sick and I feel dizzy, and that's it. I'm gone. And I'm awake in my bed. But I don't ever remember going to bed. This day actually happened, and I know this happened. I recall this at 25, and in this scenario that played out, I was 12-year old, and I remember all the clothes that I actually wore, and my grandma's coat. Everything that was in this house actually existed, and all the clothes that we had on was what I had on when I was 12, and what my grandma and my mum had on, and yeah.
Were you like reliving a memory?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so this memory came back to you years later.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So okay. So you don't recall them like leaving because you woke up.
No, I blacked out, didn't I, at the door? But it was the only time where I'd actually blacked out, where I was feeling, I thought I was going to be sick, and I felt dizzy, and I'm going, proper blackout, not blackout when, do you know what I mean? But this is like fainting blackout.
Passed out. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you don't really know why they were there.
No.
Wow.
I don't think they was there. When I look back now, I don't think I was here. I don't think I was here. I think I was just, it's a projection that my grandma's there. I'm in my room. I'm looking out at window. There's greys down my path. No, it just don't make sense. Don't make sense, because I'm trying to tell my mum, look, there's kids out. There's kids. I want them kids that are at the bottom of the garden. And it's like as if they don't hear me. It's like a screen's there. You know what I mean? It's like as if they don't hear me. They're not acknowledging me. So this is when I've realised, as I've got older, I thought, that were a projection. That didn't happen.
Okay.
And I think I was somewhere else. And I don't even think that Fidelity record player actually was a record player.
So many questions. Damn. Now, what's your blood type? Do you know it?
I'm O positive.
Yeah, me too. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tend to say a lot of experiencers are O negative, but
that's not what I'm seeing. When my grandma that were RH negative.
Okay, so I'm trying to wonder why you're going through these things.
I'm not sure, but I think some of it might still be. They say this, but I do have a gypsy background, and on my grandma's side, on my granddad's side, which I never knew because he died when my mum was 12 anyway. On his side, there were gypsy, and on my grandma's side, there were Germans. So I think that might be a connection there somewhere.
Judy Carroll from Australia, she's got Zeta Gray contacts, and her grandmother was also gypsy. So she does the belly dancing too and all that.
Yeah,
that could be a contributing factor.
I'm not sure whether they were that sort of gypsy, but the adult caravans and horses. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So wow. So at what age did the reptilians come to you?
This year.
This year. Okay, wow.
This year. Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't believe in them.
No.
I was like, you know what I mean? It's like these, Bigfoot people and your reptilians. I'd be like, yeah, right. And it took somebody to say to me, Paula, you see greys and you're snubbing people that have reptilian experience. You get what I mean? I can't believe it until I see it. You know what I mean? I know the greys are there because I've been in the presence that often. You know what I mean? But if I've never encountered a reptilian, then why would I believe in some? You know what I mean? That I can't get my head around it. But yeah, it was this year. Yeah.
That's really nice to know that you've got continuous contact. At least something happened every now and then. It's
I don't
pretty
know
fun.
whether I call it nice, to be honest.
Ah,
It's traumatic, but
traumatic.
I've got to learn to live with it.
Okay.
You know, not live with it, but work around it. You know what I mean? I can't stop it, so I have to do something. Otherwise, I'd be in a straitjacket.
But nothing really bad came out of it. It's not like they harmed you.
No, not. Well, I've had a tube insertion in my back.
Oh, you didn't talk about that. Let's
That was 12-year-old in that.
okay.
Yeah.
You want to get into
And
that?
I was bleeding a lot. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Let's continue the reptilian story. So,
Yeah.
at what age did the reptilian thing happen?
How old am I now? 50. So it were
Only
only a few
50.
months ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
that close. Okay.
Yeah. Probably about 6 months ago now. Yeah.
So
Mm.
did they appear to you in that room or?
No, what it worries, I'd gone to bed. I remember making a coffee down here, as I would normally would before bed, and I'd take it upstairs with me. And, I'd turn lights out, everything, and I've gone upstairs. And all I remember then is being stood in my bedroom, and I'm holding my coffee. Next minute, I'm down here in the darkness. So I don't know. I know I didn't get into bed. I just remember holding the coffee. I don't even know how long I was stood there for. But all I remember then is I'm stood down here in my room, and it's darkness because I know that I've turned the light off, but how I got from there to there, I don't know. And I didn't have a coffee with me, you know? And then it was like, I've got to go to the door. I've got to go to the door. I don't know what I was going to the door for, but I knew I had to go to that door there. And I got the key off the shelf and I unlocked it. And this, a lot of lights were out, so I know it were very early hours. I know it were, because a lot of people around here stay up, after midnight or whatever. But I know there's a lot of lights out, so I know that it's early hours. So, and I'm stood at my doorway, and I sees a group of young men at the top of the street. And they were like 4 together and 1 on his own. And I remember him, they're talking amongst themselves quietly, but I remember there's a street light down there, and there's one at the top of the street, right? And I remember the one that was stood on his own say, "Lights going out," or "Lights gone out." And I'm thinking, no, it hasn't. But it's as if he said it loud enough so I can hear it, even though the others were talking quietly. And I'm looking around, I'm thinking, oh, lights are still on. Boom, all lights, like a power cut, total power cut. No street lights, no house lights, nothing. All gone out. And there's me stood on the doorstep, right? I can still see a bit. It's not like it's totally, you can't see that far. You know what I mean? I can still see a bit because of the moon and what have you. And I'm then stood at the door and I'm scanning down bottom of the street, and I'm kind of looking up other side of the street until I get to the top. And then I'll scan back down again. And I can see a figure in next door's garden here behind wall. And the guy next door is called Jimmy. And yet I knew it wasn't him. But it was like as if I wasn't bothered it were him. I wasn't bothered who was stood there. It was just so weird. I should have been like, oh my God, who's that? You know what I mean? No. And this thing, I knew that it wasn't Jimmy because this thing's like 7 foot tall and he's broad. You know what I mean? But I'm not getting the full picture of him because all I'm seeing is an outline. And it's like, so I'm scanning and it's as if I bypass this thing and carry on looking up straight. So it's like as if it's a normal thing for him to be stood there. even though I knew it wasn't Jimmy. And I thought, oh, right, I'm going in now. And I remember kind of coming in, and as I'm just turned round to shut the door, get ready to lock it, this thing took me by arm and led me into this rug here that my feet are on. And now I think I'm facing that wall there. Because through my curtains on the main road, there's a orange street light that was still on. All rest of the street had gone out, power had gone, but that on the main road was on, so it was still, you know, giving that suffused thing through my curtains. So I know I was facing that way. And it's total darkness in here, and this thing's kind of took me in, not hard, you know what I mean? I've gone along with it, but I can't see where it is. I'm not sure whether my door's shut or I've left it open, or he's just walked in and it's just took me in, it's, you know, 3 strides and I'm here. And next minute, all I'm seeing is bathed in like a pale blue light. And I don't know where it's coming from. I have no impulse to look up, to look round. And I didn't, the funny thing about it is, under everything what I've gone through, fear, trauma, everything, I have absolutely no emotion at this point. None. It's like as if it doesn't exist. And then this blue light, like I said, it's around me. It could fit 3 people in this blue light and still be able to move your arms about, you know? And it's only pale, but it's like, it doesn't just, it's a circular, but it doesn't just stop as a circle. It kind of blends into the darkness, you know? So that just behind me there is dark, and all the way around me is dark. So all I'm seeing is me. And then I could see something in front of my feet. And I'm thinking, is it the sofa? Is it edge at sofa? I'm not confused, as in like, oh my God, what is it? What's that in front of me? You know what I mean? I'm just trying to work out, is it sofa? Is it sofa? And I just keep repeating it over in my head. But I'm thinking, I know that it ain't the sofa. You know what I mean? Because I've got a white sheet over the sofa. You know, as you see there, it's a white sheet over the sofa. And this thing that I'm looking at that's in this pale blue light is dark. So could it be the feet of this thing? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But it didn't bother me. No emotion, nothing. Nothing's going in up there at all. And then I kind of looked up towards that wall. I kind of looked up as if I'm looking up to the corner at, you know, the ceiling. And what I'm seeing then is this thing coming through it as if it's looking down at me like that, you know, coming out into the light, into this light that's on me, from the shadows into the light. And it's because it's tall, it has to bend over and look at me.
Yeah.
And then I'm seeing the teeth, what look like fucking crocodile teeth, with big, you know, and yellowy. Now, I'm not sure whether they're mucky yellow because of the blue light. Do you get what I mean? So it could be giving a different kind of a hue of the teeth. You know what I mean? That tint can make a big difference. And I could see it as like a crocodile, what I thought was a crocodile. So it's come out. But I said, but when I'm telling people, I said, it's not, yeah, but it's not like a crocodile. Crocodile out here. This is kind of gone like that. You know what I mean? And it's got a big fucking row of teeth, you know, and it's like it's doing that to me, but right up to my face. You know what I mean? So that's all I'm seeing. It's there. And then kind of I look beyond it and there's 2 little dark eyes, but mainly a lot of it said was in the darkness still. So it's mainly this bit that was in the light, even though it will leant over, you know, and then I'm seeing it's colour. But depending it's like a purpley brownie, beigey, khaki. Oh God, blue. I can just, all I have to do is slightly turn my head like that, and the iridescent changes with it. You know what I mean? So I just have to turn my head just a few millimeters, and it changes the kind of sheen of the color, but it ain't a sheen as such. But there are no scales on it. It looks, it's like lumpy bumpy, but it's not scales. You know what I mean? And then it's kind of blending a bit more, but I'm still not getting a better picture of it, no matter how much. But all I'm knowing, it's like 7 foot tall, and it's out here broad. You know what I mean? And I know it's the human shape. And then that's it. I'm just gone. I'm gone. I don't know whether I'm blacked out or whatever happened, but I'm gone. And I've woke up in my bed the next morning, and my coffee is on the side of the bed. I ain't drunk it.
Did you see its eyes?
Well, yeah. Well, a lot of it, like I said, was it because it's leant over. Obviously, if this light's coming down, I'm only seeing like darkness around here, but it gets darker to the center. True. So it looks like little dark. Do you get what I mean? Because it's like that, so there's not a lot of light. Yeah.
Okay.
So I can't say, well, you know, if they had a slit or they were yellow or whatever, you know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, at least nothing bad came out of it. It's really like a...
No, because I didn't feel out. I don't know what I was supposed to feel, even if, you know, people say, well, what did you feel? Well, there were no emotion whatsoever, none. It was like nothing, no emotion in me. I want happy, I want sad, I want confused, I want... there was absolutely nothing. It was just like a blank screen. Do you know what I mean?
See, a theme that comes back over and over is the color blue. They use the color blue, the light blue, to manipulate us to keep us calm.
Right.
I was speaking to, I Skyped with Simon Parks in 2014, and that's when he told me about the color blue. So,
right.
So I wasn't too sure if that was true, but
it was iridescent, though. I mean, it, like I said, I just had to. If I looked at it and I kept still, it'd have, you know, like brownie, blue, purple, whatever. You know what I mean? And khaki blending. But if I just turned slightly like that, it'd change the whole perspective of that colour to something else. Wow. So it were iridescent, but it didn't have a sheen to it. It won't, you know what I mean? And it didn't have scales, but it looked like it could be scaly. It were mainly bump, bump, bump. You know what I mean?
How did the arm, how did the hand feel on your arm? Did you feel anything?
Okay, just like somebody gently taking me in.
Okay.
But I knew that I had to walk in with them. I knew that my body instantly, right, you got to go. Yeah. You know, under normal circumstances, I'd have kicked hell out of him. But it's like, it would just, I knew I had to go. So if I knew I had to go, therefore, it wouldn't have to force me, would it?
True.
You know? But it was just like gentle, quite gentle, actually. It wasn't. But I'm wondering, I still don't know what to feel because I had no emotion then. So what would I have now?
No, yeah.
You know, it didn't scare me.
Like, I'm wondering, like, if they knew you before this life, if you knew them.
I don't know. I don't know.
I know it's difficult. Yeah, like, why us?
Why us? Yeah.
Yeah, why us?
But I don't think we're out special, to be honest, because there's millions, if not billions of us.
Yeah.
And so, you know, what makes us that special if there's that many of us?
Well, we could always call it a day. I'd love to have you on for a part 2 later this fall if you want to.
Definitely, yeah.
I know there's a lot more to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing today. I really enjoyed your story. It's you're lovely, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jan.
And to those watching, I hope you enjoyed today's show. More interviews coming up, and I'll see you guys next time. So, take care, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Gray, and thanks for watching today's episode. If you are an abductee, contactee, or experiencer, and you believe that your story could help others, please feel free to contact me through my YouTube channel email. When it comes to experiencers, the ET phenomena, and the future, remember, truth will out.